Hey guys, welcome back from Classic Work. After tons and tons of requests for this video, I finally broke down and we're going to do it now, which is the tour of the Ketchup rig, basically. So for the folks out there that are new to the channel or don't know, Ketchup is a 1989 International 4900. She's sporting the DT 466P with a 6-speed Eaton Fuller transmission with like a 530 rear end in the back end, I believe. She's on 22.5 Bud rims, and she is a very, very nice rig for her age. So she's turning 34 this year. This is 2024. So just goes to show you, you don't have to have a new rig to do a day's work. So let's get after it and let's get started. So if you can tell by the door, I never really looked up this company. This is not who I work for or anything. This is where the truck originally came from, was Charlotte, North Carolina. I have a lot of people on YouTube think I am from North Carolina. I don't know if it's the truck or my accent or what, but I'm not. I'm from Mississippi. So we don't know a whole lot about the truck. The original title for the truck when I bought it was from Virginia. So the truck is kind of a mystery. So the original DOT sticker that was up here, when it was still in service by these folks, the original inspection was in 1993, to give you an idea. So that's pretty neat. A little bit of history on the truck. But she originally was a digger derrick. It was a pole setting truck. The bed that's on here is, we're pretty sure it's from the 70s, late 70s, because the crane, they quit making it in 1978, if I'm not mistaken. So the flatbed and the crane are older than the entire rig is. My guess is it was on an older truck, and they probably had one job that they did with it, and it did it really well. And the truck, either they wrecked it or something blew up on it, and they put a brand new chassis up under it back in 90 or 89, and they kept it in the fleet. They probably didn't keep it very long, maybe just 3 or 4 years, and then they sold the truck. The truck, from not the owner I bought it from, but the person before that, they said they bought it on the side of the road between here and Philadelphia, Mississippi. So that's kind of the history in a nutshell, but we'll start. So this truck is kind of a combo truck. It's half welding rig, half mechanic rig. It's basically a flatbed with toolboxes on it, basically. A couple of homemade things that I've built for it over the years, and that's kind of what it is. So the driver's side here is set up for mechanic purposes, except for the front cabinet. The front cabinet on this truck, which I made myself, this is the acetylene cabinet is what I call it. So a lot of my rigging stuff, a couple of my come-alongs and chains and special rigging deals, that's a good word for it, for the crane. I have a full-size acetylene bottle, a full-size 75-25 shielding gas for my wire feeder, and then I think this is a 300 size oxygen bottle. So I love this setup a whole lot better than what I used to do. I had my bottles in the back of the truck, and two problems with that. You had to get in the back of the truck to turn the bottles on, and then you had to roll them out and put them on the ground to change them. This is a lot better setup. Is being right here. You can turn them on real quick, shut the door or leave it open, doesn't matter. The door opens 180 degrees, so it works great. One thing I would change on it is this plate. I should have lowered it to the bottom of this fuel tank right here. That's another, I don't know, close to 10-12 inches. I think it was something stupid, like I ran out of material, and that is what I came up with. That's why that height is different right there. That's why it's not even with this. But because that's a long way to pick a bottle up, especially this 75-25. That's a heavy bottle. But my goal was to put something extra down here. I think I was going to build a chain well or something, but I may wind up putting something down here for my bottle jacks and whatnot, and some extra blocks. So it's not, you know, terrible what I did, but it wasn't great. If I do that, I'm gonna put like a little shelf on there so I can set the bottle up here, grab it in another spot, and then set it up on higher, because that is a long way to pick that bottle up. So anyways, I get a lot of questions about this tank that's on top of the truck. This is a sprayer rig. It's just like a 12-volt motor on it. It's used to go on an ATV to spray chemical with. I use it to actually wash my hands with. It's been okay. I've had 2 of these different ones, and both of them have froze and busted. I always think I get all the water out of them. I put antifreeze with them, but it still gets cold enough that I tear them up. So this one here, the tank's not busted, but the wand and everything's all busted to pieces from the last big freeze we had. So this is coming off the truck. I'm not going to keep it on there, I don't believe. The next thing over here is the Montezuma toolbox. I've had this since I was about 19. You can tell the hydraulic cylinder doesn't work anymore. These boxes are good. They have some dilemmas on them. They're a real good way of keeping all of your stuff fairly organized and keeping track of it. So if you're missing a socket, like say these two, at a glance you can look, say, oh, this socket's missing and this one's missing. So that's pretty handy, you know, to keep everything halfway organized. I love the wrench rack on the back. It's one of the better ways to keep your wrenches organized. And you know, if you're missing a screwdriver, you can tell one of them's missing. So that aspect of it is nice. They take up a lot of room. They need a lot of headroom too. But other than that, they do a good job, and that's why I keep it on the truck. Got extra storage underneath, extra storage under here too. I like it enough that I'm not going to take it off the truck. It does real good for my general purpose kind of mechanic stuff, and you don't have to like dig through a drawer and everything like that. So yeah, I've enjoyed it for the most part. Biggest problem that I've had with it has been this latch. The latch, if water collects in these all the time, and in the winter time it'll freeze, and you can actually see some of the plastic is melted a little bit here on the latch. That's from taking a torch and trying to heat it up so that the latch will open. I can't tell you how many times that's happened. You can actually see that the handle's a little bit bent from that. So that's one big issue I've had with the box. Other than that, it's done a fantastic job. Some of these boxes, depending on what kind of truck you rig them on, the wrenches will jump off the back of the rack. If you have a truck that has a lot of sideways, side back and forth, they'll fall off. So that's another thing. It never happened on this truck, but my old truck it did. So anyways, going down here to the bottom, this is my chemical storage on the truck. So starting fluid, brake cleaner, grease, miscellaneous oil, my grease gun I keep in here, all my anti-seize, Loctite, all that kind of stuff. I keep it separate from everything else in case you have an oil jug bust or something like that. It's all contained. It's not, you know, leaking all over your parts or on, you know, if it's something in there that's caustic or whatever, it stays away from your other stuff that you're trying to keep dry. So I've been pretty happy with these boxes. It keeps the dust out real well. I've not been a fan of these hinges. If you can tell all that dirt that collects in there, a lot of this comes off this rear wheel and it gets just piled in there, and these hinges give trouble. You have to lube them up pretty regularly. Just take a grease gun and just grease the ever-living snot out of them. They're going to stay nasty, but they've held up fairly good. They've been on the truck for 4 years now, so they've done fairly well. The next one is the NAC 112 job site cabinet. So this cabinet was never designed to be put on a truck. The 4 years that I've ran it, it's held up remarkably well. So take a look at it. Stuff likes to dance around in here, so you have to kind of keep an eye on it. You may open the cabinet and something fall off there and hit you in the head. So, like I said, it wasn't designed to be on the truck. So a couple of things I love about this cabinet is the inset doors. You can hang all kinds of stuff. I love me some magnets. You can hang all kinds of stuff on the inside of your door. You can tell I put all kind of notes about stuff in here with magic marker. On the other side, I actually built a dead man for it to hold all your grinding rocks, your wedges, some of my die grinder stuff. That way it's not, you know, rolling around in a drawer, and you can look and at a glance and see if you got something missing. So the big thing about this truck was all about convenience. So if it was something that you could pick up and grab immediately or look at, you know, even at a distance and see if you were missing, that's the thing that I wanted on this truck. And it's all about convenience, because at the end of the day, when you take something out and you put it back in the truck, you don't have to worry about it not being somewhere, if you know what I mean. You know, everybody kind of has an idea in their head what they want to do, but you don't know what you want until you figure out what you don't want, if that makes any kind of sense. But we'll take a look at the drawers here. I've got a ladder to get up to your top part of your box, so you can hold on to the side of the doors and get up to your higher levels. But I'll show you how my drawers are kind of configured. So this is the bottom shelf. I put most of my heavy stuff, like my big wrenches and whatnot, hammers on this side, a lot of my Milwaukee stuff. Kind of a junk shelf, that's right there. All my grinders, plastic boxes, and the top is usually like kind of a catch-all for like my jumper cables and slings and stuff like that. So the bottom drawer here is all my 3/4 drive sockets. So I was pretty proud of this. This is pretty simple. Nothing but a piece of plywood with some screws in it. And these keep these from dancing around in here. So this size of sockets, they go from 3/4 all the way to 2 1/4, I think. And that does pretty much everything I need to do, unless I'm working on big hydraulic cylinders. This got big nuts. So that's the first drawer. Second drawer is mostly air tools. No real big organization here. I'd love to do something different with that later, but for the most part it works. Number 3 up here is all my cutting stuff for my torches, rosebud, brazing, all my extra tips, drill bits, and taps and die sets, left-handed drill bits. I got some telescoping gauges, some bigger drill bits, that kind of stuff, die grinding bits, and a couple of measuring tools. Fourth drawer is all specialty wrenches, so like O-ring picks. You got line wrenches, you got your 9-degree offsets and your 60s. You got your midget wrenches. These are really nice. If you need a 2-inch wrench, that's super short for taking off lines in a tight place. Crow feet, midget wrenches, all that kind of jazz. Third one, another specialty drawer. These are 3/4 length sockets. These are, you know, rails, kind of handy when you're working away from the truck. You can take a whole rail with you. Stubby sockets. And I got some specialty 12-point, 1/2-inch drive, snap ring pliers, impact, screwdriver, that kind of stuff. Second drawer up here, a lot of my hardware stuff. Everything from big washers and roll pins to grease zerks, a couple of O-rings, all kinds of pins and stuff. You need a good hardware system on your truck. And then the last drawer is all my electrical stuff. Test leads, test light, got zip ties. I keep all my little connection stuff and all that kind of jazz, diagnosing equipment. And then you can see a little bit better of the top shelf. My track torches up here in a level, hole saw kit, and I usually keep my my safety harness and everything up there. And then that shelf is all plastic box stuff, like keep all my hydraulic fittings and boxes. I got some metric deep impact sockets here, this air hammer, and that's a, oh shoot, it's a flange wizard kit, I think. But yeah, that box holds a lot of stuff. There's no joke there. So yeah, that's normally when the truck's open, that's exactly what it looks like. So it's pretty convenient. In the summertime especially, this is probably where most people stand, is to get out of the sun. Basically, that box is so tall that there's not a lot of sun that gets past you, basically. So not a bad place to take a break. So we'll walk around to the back. Of course, most people have seen the work table that I put on this truck. I'll put a link in the description on how I built all this and everything. Piece of 3/4 plate, you know, super heavy duty. I got a 2-inch receiver for this vise, and this one's mounted straight to the table. They're all set from each other. I didn't really want to do that, but I wish they were together, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this configuration. The biggest problem that I've had with this table is any cutting that you do, it lands on your taillights. And you can see that my taillights, this one's broke, but it's melted. This one, I hit something in it and I actually broke it. I got to replace it. But it's also melted from cutting off the back of the truck. So if I were to redo anything on this, I would put some form of shield on top. So all your dross and everything either hits it or goes past it. That's something I would say would be a huge improvement. Of course, the old Ketchup, if you can see it in the back. I've had a lot of people ask about this box. This is a Army, what do they call this? Like a dry box. It's insulated. It's made for like taking hot water to the field or like potatoes or anything like that. You can put them in there and they'll stay warm for several hours. But I use it as a trash can. I know that's not real great, but I like it because you can't lose the top. And it's got about the same volume as a 5-gallon bucket, and it works fine for that. So I've got a secondary set of leads, quick connects on the back of the truck. So if you got to do some tacking or something on the back of the truck, you can put your whips on real quick. I highly recommend doing that. Having a double set of leads is probably the best thing about this truck. Alright, over here on the corner, while I have this wrench in my hand, this toolbar that runs across the back, to me it seemed like a waste of space. So I incorporated this little plate, and I've got, kind of tight in here, I've got all my big pry bars in it, and it's over 6 feet long, so you could put a pretty good sized bar in there. So that's one of the bars. That's locked from my crane. A little smaller bar here, and then I've got a snap-on bar. It's pretty good size here. A little extra storage. You know, you'll learn when you run service truck how to rat hole stuff, is what I call it. You'll find places to put stuff that you never would have dreamed that you would put things. So I've been super happy with that. Alright, on the back right here, we got another little better built box. This here is where I hold all my chains for when I pull the trailer. I got some rigging items in here and some binders, a couple of different hitches for the truck. Nothing special about that one. A lot of trash gets thrown by this rear tire, and you can actually see, like I said before, these hinges, they give a lot of trouble with all that crap getting up in there. They've held up decently well, but they have give some trouble, I will say that. Over here on the passenger side, this is the welding side of the truck, basically. So this is my Hoosier pole that I keep my leads and everything like that on. And these are my whips. I think this one's 16 foot. I think this one may be 14 or 12 foot. If I had to do it over again, which I probably will in the future, is make sure that your stinger whip is at least 25 feet and your ground is at least 20 feet. So I've been happy with them, but I wish they were a little longer sometimes. Like I said, easy fix, but I haven't done it yet. I've got a Napa compressor. Napa did not build this compressor. I'm not sure the manufacturer on it, but I've been happy with it. I've had it on here for 3 years. The only thing that's happened to it is the solenoid on the starter went out once. I think that was my fault. So yeah, it's held up really well. It's 22 CFM at I think 150 PSI, so it's a 30-gallon compressor. I've been tickled with it. It's been a good unit. And then of course the lead rack. I think I've had more comments about this than I have anything else on the truck. It's been pretty good. I'll talk about some of the stuff I like, some of the stuff I don't. When I ordered all these reels, I didn't know this, but they had an air reel that's the same configuration as this settling reel, and I wish I would have bought it instead of this one. I've had no complaints about this one, other than it's just big. I mean, you can get it significantly smaller, and I could have done more with this dead space here. So it's not a huge problem, just it ain't my favorite configuration. Acetylene hose reel has been by far one of the best reels on the truck. It's 100-foot acetylene hose on there. I've had zero problems with it, no leaks on it. It's been one of my favorites. These are all Cox reels, so it's been really, really good. The best reel on the truck by far is this one. This is the what in the world? Oh, there we go. Is the extension cord reel. Basically, it is a hollow tube. If you can tell, all this moves together, which means that you can put anything on this reel that you want to. It's not just an extension cord. You can put a shielding gas hose on it. You could put like a 220 line going to it. You could do a lot of things with it. It's the cheapest reel on the truck. I think back then, I think I gave 110 bucks for it. I don't think it's much higher than that now. And yeah, I would highly recommend this reel. I think you could put a welding lead on it and put you a quick connect disconnect right here. So by far my favorite reel on the truck. The lead reels on the truck, they're okay, not my favorite. They use a spring inside of them with a big copper washer to make connection. I haven't had any problem with them making connection. I've had the spring part actually come apart and had to disassemble the entire reel to get it to work again. I've had it on both of them. I've had bad luck with reels, with these style reels. They work fine when they work, but they ain't worth a cuss when they don't. I don't know how to say that, but that's the best way I can phrase it. I don't know. Kind of a love-hate relationship, I guess. To be honest, I really think the big coils on your main leads is the way to go. It's a lot easier. They are a lot better at the end of the day when you roll everything up, but like I said, the frustration is not worth the problems that they give. But other than that, it's been okay. I'll get up in the bed and show this box. It actually opens from the inside. I just wanted to make a quick note here though. It's just miscellaneous stuff in there. I've got a 9-inch grinder in there, my porta bands in there. I think some random bolts are up there too, a couple of gasket sets. But I wanted to point this out. My grinder was upside down and the actual blade of the grinder rubbed up against this box and it actually cut a hole through it from the truck vibrating when it was idling. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then of course my SA250. For the folks that don't know out there, this welder actually fell off of this truck right after I bought it, and it was a big fiasco. I mean, I kicked myself for days on that one. But I fixed it. Didn't have anything really majorly wrong with it other than the bent radiator shroud and the bent hood. I did my best to fix what I could, and yeah, I put almost I think 800 hours on this machine. It's still cooking. It's one of my favorite welders I've ever ran. Yeah, I've got zero complaints about it. I'd buy another one real fast. And then of course, this is the other toolbox. This is my welding side. It's got all my rods and my carbon gouge rods, and I've got miscellaneous grinding discs in there. Everything pretty much to do with welding, it's all in there. This box does pretty good at sealing out the moisture. It's not 100%, but it's a lot better than what I used to have. So these rods, they hold up pretty good in here. I have a lot of people ask me why I don't have a rod oven, not onion, on the truck. Most of the stuff that I do doesn't require, an oven for like precision type welding or like X-ray quality weld. If I have to do something like that, I'll open up a brand new tin. That way that there's zero moisture in them, basically. So I've had a lot of people ask that. So let's put that to rest. But yeah, it's very utilitarian. Like, just to give you an idea of how easy this stuff is to use, is take that off, you undo this, and you just walk it. The good thing about it is you can walk forward of the truck or backwards. Nothing gets tangled up. I'll just show you with this lead reel here. You can pull both of them at the same time, but I've kind of learned you kind of do one then the other. I do the right one. close. So I'll pull a little bit out. I'm gonna walk forward. Of course, it would do it on camera. Never have any problem in real life. So you can walk forward. However far you need to go, they do just fine. Rolling back up is not too bad. But one thing I don't like about these reels is the locks don't work anymore. So you have to be sure your leads don't come unwound on you. That's why I put the little kink in them like I do. You just grab a little bit of your lead, tie them back down. But yeah, this one is the best one on the truck. You can see how fast that is. It's all organized, and there you go. So one thing that I am going to do eventually is put a door on this lead rack, so I'll have it so it'll close and then it'll open up past 90, so it'll go up, but hadn't got there yet. Let's talk about the crane. We forgot to talk about that. So the crane on the truck, best thing about the truck. So like I said before, it's a Digger derrick. It is a PM 300 built by McKay Powers Company, probably back in the early to mid 70s. Absolutely love the crane. It's a 6-ton crane. From the ground to the top of the tower is right at 10 feet, 11 feet, well, a little over 11 feet, close to 12 feet to the top of the spool. So right there you have 12 feet of height plus whatever the boom has, basically. The boom with the automatic and the dead stick will reach out 39 feet, which is way more than a conventional service truck will. So it's 16 feet as it sits with whatever 16, well 39 minus 16, whatever that is, that's how much more stick you have in your boom. The crane's awesome. I really love it. It's got kind of an interesting outrigger setup. This one's like a letdown outrigger for like backhoe style, and the other one is actually an extension outrigger. So it's kind of a combo. The cool thing about this truck is most trucks, especially service rigs, you can't hardly pick up anything on the dominating side of the truck. Meaning that if your crane is 90 degrees, pretend the crane is where I'm standing, 90 degrees to the truck, you can only pick up usually about half of what the load rating is for. But on this truck, with that outrigger being like it is, you can probably pick up 2/3 of your actual weight. Of course, the crane is strongest directly behind the truck, but your field of pick is 180 degrees basically. Well, not quite, it's a little weaker on that side, but it's, the pie shape is, I don't know how to describe it. It's pretty good. It's got a good field of weight distribution. So I love that aspect of it. So crane is by far one of my favorite things on the truck. It's great. A couple things that's unique to this truck is it's actually really good in the mud. You wouldn't expect it. It ain't worth a cuss in the sand, but it is like this black prairie that's out here. Doesn't matter how wet that is out there. If you've got a little momentum, it'll go. And even if you stop, it'll still go. That was new for me. I never had a truck that was that good in the mud, especially for just a 2-wheel drive truck. So yeah, I've been happy with it. I was going to show the back of the truck a little bit. this box in here, it's got a rubber seal. It's a military box. And that's where I keep my LN25 wire feeder, and I've got a 50-ton hydraulic jack that I keep in there. And then this box opens from the inside. And you can see my porta band, miscellaneous hoses, and some bolts, funnels, stuff like that. Nothing spectacular, but just gives you an idea what's on the inside. Alright, I'm going to show the cab in here a little bit. I don't think I've ever filmed much of the cab. So this is just the standard S-line cab. You got your standard gauges. You can see somebody like they beat up on my gauges. That was way before I got the truck. Most of the gauges still work. The tachometer and the speedometer do not work. I think the sensors are bad. But I mean, it shows it's got 379,000 miles on it. This truck, when it's idling, it actually counts miles while it's just sitting here. So you can't go by that. When I bought the truck, it had like 89,000 on it, I think is what it said. So yeah, but I've done some improvements to the truck. The biggest one, well, one of the bigger ones, was I put a backup camera on it. This company, ECCO, called Gemini Eye. Love this setup. It is a corded setup. It has a hard line that goes to the camera in the back. It actually has infrared on it at night too, so you can actually see at night. I like it. I've had one on my 550, but it was wireless and it would cut in and out on you. It wasn't near as good as this one. I've had no problem with this one other than getting dirt or something on the lens. So this style has a double hookup too. I would love to get another one of these cameras, because you can actually you can hit channel and you'll see, oh, that's inverted. Well, you can hit, it's one of these, it's a channel. It's not going to do it now, it doesn't matter. But you can have a second camera on it, and you can put it up higher so you have a bird's eye view. I would like to do that one day, but just hadn't got around to it yet. Yeah, but that's super duper nice. On this truck, the visuals on the back are not real good. I can't see directly behind the welder. I mean, you can see some over the top, but you can't see low. So it's nice if you're around a bunch of people, you can turn that on and make sure somebody's not directly behind you, and of course hooking up to a trailer, which is the main reason I did that. The other thing I did is the radio system in here. This is actually a boat radio for like a wake boat that has like moisture resistance or water resistance. I put that in here because I was scared that the windshield and the firewall were not going to keep the water out of the dash. Turns out I was wrong. The dash and everything is great in this truck. So that I didn't need all that per se, but I'm glad I put it in here because the thing came with 6-inch subs, I think. And you talk about rock this truck. If you have your volume at 100%, you can't hear the engine in the truck, which is amazing. Yeah, it'll blow you right out of here. I highly recommend a good radio. It really helps your morale when you're feeling bad or going to a job or coming back from a job or any of that. The truck also has a red dot air conditioner in it, aftermarket. When I first got the truck, I actually got it working. It worked actually pretty decently well. I've got a leak in the Freon somewhere. I've got to find it, but it probably would work again just the same. The biggest problem is the truck has no insulation in it. So, I mean, it blew cold air in your armpit basically, but once it got past this seat, it really lost its luster. It never, you know, it would cool half of you basically, but it didn't do just a whole lot. But yeah, it did. Like I said, it did work just fine. The other thing I've got is a Hobo Freight inverter here. This is a 400 watt if I'm not mistaken. I actually love this thing a lot. It's got the UBS hookups, so I charge my phone and like my rechargeable flashlights and all that, and then I charge a lot of my batteries for my cameras, so that works pretty good. The hookups here on the bottom to the main hookup, I actually run some of my lights with them. I actually run them out the triangle windows on top of the cab, so that's kind of handy too for certain things. The other thing too is I did put an hour meter in the truck since the mile per hour. I couldn't ever tell, you know, when to service it because I had no miles to register. So as you can tell, I've put 1,578 hours on it since I've had the gauge in there. realistically, I've got closer to 1,700 hours on the truck since I've had it, and yeah, it's been absolutely great. I change the oil in it every 200 hours, which might be a little bit extra, but it seems to handle it just fine, so I don't have a huge issue with that. But yeah, the inside has been really, really nice. So the best part of this truck is the engine. So this truck, being built in 1989, has the DT 466 in it. It has the upgraded version of the 466, which is the 467. It has upgraded lifters and rocker arms and a couple other things in it too. But this engine is arguably one of the best engines ever made. They're too freaking reliable. They're just super duper tough, super duper rugged. I mean, they're amazing. They really are. They have, I think it's like a 400 or 500 pound rotating assembly in them. I mean, it's, for their size and horsepower, they're elite. They really are. A lot of people give these engines crap, but you didn't see many of these broke down on the side of the road. Most of the time when you see one of these trucks parked, it was not because the engine didn't run. It was usually because the clutch was out, or the brakes went out, or they wrecked it, or something. It was not because these son of guns gave up most of the time, unless they had a rod hanging outside of them. And then even then, they would still drive home. It's amazing. So this truck has the Bosch, I think this is an 8400 inline injection pump, which an injection pump is the heart of a diesel engine, well, at least an old diesel engine. These pumps, they put them on the 12 valve Cummins in the later years. They put them on the 8.3 Cummins. They put them on everything, and they were extremely good injection pumps. They would handle more water and more debris in the fuel than any other pump would. They gave unbelievable reliability. So I absolutely love it. So this truck is completely stock. It is 185 horse. The pump has not been turned up. It does not have a big turbo on it, or a bigger turbo on it. And the reason for it is one of the reasons that the DT is famous is because of reliability. I'll be honest. You go messing and getting more horsepower and you start stripping clutches and breaking drive shafts and overheating and all that kind of stuff. Who wants to do that?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I mean, seriously. So that's the reason I've left it completely stock. Is I'll be honest, I've changed the oil in it and put fuel in it and changed filters. I've worked on the AC and the brake system, but nothing on the engine since I've had it. So it may break down tomorrow, but it has done extremely well. I've been tickled to death with the engine. I had a F550 that had the 7.3 Power Stroke, and it felt like it was broke down every 3 weeks. I mean, it's one reason why I went backwards. I mean, because you can't beat these things with a stick. You really can't. But anyways, yeah, love these engines. They're by far one of the best ever made. So, when you're building a rig, one of the coolest things you can do is customize the rig. And like I said, I ran a utility body for years, and you're limited on certain things that you can do. When you're working with just a flatbed and you can customize it, then you start to have what's known as convenience. Custom. This is nice. So a lot of people talk about that, like the DTs and everything like that are weak. The reason for that is basically International. They built an engine that can hold 300 horsepower and they cut them back to half or 2/3 of what they are under, basically. They're not weak. I don't know why people say that. This truck, I've had over 80,000 pounds behind it, pulling it, and never stalled the engine, nothing like that. They're just slow. They're slow getting up and everything like that, but when they get going, they go. I will say that. A lot of people are used to an accelerator, they barely float. Not these trucks. If you're going to own one of these trucks, you got that's where they like it, is on the mat. Okay? Don't forget that. Just on the mat. Anyways, I'm going to try to answer some common questions I get about the truck. Probably the number one question I get the most is it required to have CDL to drive a truck that size? The correct answer for that is you have to look inside your door jamb on your truck to see what load capacity that the truck can handle. So any truck that can get away with that is anything 26,000 pounds and under. And if you have air brakes on it, you automatically have to have CDL. Ketchup does not have air brakes, so technically it falls within that parameter, but the truck does weigh more than 26,000 pounds, so CDL is required. So you can check your local listings and stuff like that to kind of figure that out, but that's a pretty good baseline. The other big question I get is what's the best class of truck to get in the International Series? There's a lot of options. They had 5, if not 6 different motor options back then for all of them. The ones you're going to find are going to be the 6.9 IDI, the 7.3 IDI, the 7.3 Power Stroke, the DT 360, and the DT 466, and the DT 466E. So that's 6. And I'm sure there was a gas burner in there too during the year models. The best ones to find are the DT466s. Okay, the 7.3 IDIs were fine. They're very tough engines, but they're going to be weak for that big a truck. But yeah, if you can find, and they also had the DT530s. I forgot about them. Those are kind of uncommon, but they did have them too. So anyways, the best one was the DT466. Be sure, the best ones in that generation were from 1973 all the way to 1995. Find one in there that has a mechanical injection pump on it. When they switched to the DT466E with the HUE injector system, it was never successful. They gave a lot of problems. So the only thing that they share is displacement. They do not, they have different block, different head. I think they got different, whole different in fuel system. They're not the same. So yeah, if you can find one with a DT466, it'll be right on top of the valve cover. It'll tell you all that. So that's my best information I can tell you for. But yeah.
What is the most important thing to have on a service truck?
Probably to be humble. I know that sounds kind of weird, but you don't have to have a ton of money in a service truck. That truck out there, you're looking at 13 years of accumulation. I bought a little bit here and I bought a little bit there. She's not an extremely well-kitted truck, but it does everything that I need it to do, basically. I don't have $80,000 in tools on the truck. I don't have, you know, an oxygen lance and a 1-inch impact and stuff that heavy mechanics normally run. Do I need those things? Sometimes I do, but for the most part, the truck does what I need to do. And I think a lot of people, when they think of service rig, they think of like an $80,000 or $100,000 truck, and that's it. I've seen lots of guys that will buy a service rig and have no tools on it, or if they do have tools on it, they don't use them to their biggest peak, basically. I was on a job not too long ago, and there were guys out there had all kinds of nice trucks and everything looked real good and everything like that, and they were coming to me to borrow stuff. I mean, which is fine. I mean, not everybody's always, you know, well equipped, but if you're going to run in this kind of stuff, you got to have your own stuff. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But it's a slow game. Don't get in a rush. You know, everybody wants to go out there and buy a brand new welder, brand new truck, brand new crane, just brand new everything, and they skip out on the part that you don't have to have all that to be successful in this business. I mean, like I said, take your time and grow a little bit at a time. You'll like it a lot better.
So is that how you recommend to build a service truck, is piece and piece at a time and build it with things you actually use?
Yes, because you don't know what you're going to run into until you get there, if that makes sense. You know, a lot of people think that you need, you know, like $25,000 worth of welder to be a good welder. You do not. I've seen lots of guys use a pile of junk welder, barely would stay running and stuff like that, and it would just hold on just long enough to get the job done. I'm not saying that's the best way to go, but I mean, you got to be in it and spend some time in doing it. I didn't know what I wanted until I learned what I didn't want. When I ran my F550 years ago, and I ran a utility bed on it, there were certain things about it that the layout I couldn't do anything with. A utility bed truck is not a good welding truck in my opinion. You kind of need a mix of a flatbed. That's going to give you the most options and the most room, basically. But you don't know that until you run into it yourself. You know, take some pages from other people's books that's done it a long time.
What is the one thing you reach for the most on Ketchup?
Like the tool I use the most?
Mm-hmm.
Crane. Yeah. If it's not the crane, it's I hate to say it's either settling hose or a hammer. I hate to say that. It's pretty much the stuff I use the most.
Does your crane on Ketchup set you apart from other service rigs?
It does because of the weight. Ketchup can pick up more than a standard utility bed. Most service trucks nowadays have a 6,000 to 10,000 pound crane on them, but the problem is the reach. You know, they at 25 feet they're maxed out, and on Ketchup 25 feet is only half of her range, but well, a little more than half her range, 2/3 of her range, but still able to pick up very heavy stuff at that range.
Where did you get the name Ketchup?
That is a common question, actually. They're one of my favorite YouTubers is old Peg from Zip Ties and Bias Plies, and he's a big Ford fan, but a lot of the Fords that he loves are the International Motors, the old 7.3 IDI that he had in Slave Lake and all the other ones. But he has a saying that on his channel is he'll get in his truck and hold the accelerator to the floor, say time for some ketchup, and watch the tachometer go all the way into the red, basically. And Ketchup, when I drive her down the road, that's where she stays. And if you buy an old International truck, you know, a lot of people are used to not putting, you know, a lot of pressure on the gas pedal. Basically, what you need to do on them trucks is just hold them to the floor. That's where they love to be. Okay, I hate to say they're similar to a Detroit, but they are. They want to be matted. So Ketchup lives in the Ketchup per se, and that's how she got her name.
What are your next additions to Ketchup that you would like to add?
So there are 3 major improvements I want to make to the truck. One of them is to put a bolt bin on the truck. That's one thing that I wish I had more times than not. I'm just going to buy a small toolbox and mount it somewhere. I think I'm going to mount it on top of the settling cabinet. Either that or on the bottom of the settling cabinet. I've got some room down there. And just put basic bolts that I use all the time, because it's a pain in the butt to have to go to town to buy one 1/2 inch bolt that's 3 inches long because you don't have it. That's been a huge drawback on that truck. Second thing is I want to fix the front bumper on it and make it so it actually works, and I would like to get the front winch working on it eventually. And then the third thing is I've had it for 2 years now and hadn't had enough time for Ketchup to be down, but to put my wireless kit on my crane. I've got the valve bank, I've got the remote, I got everything. It's just waiting on me, basically. I think that's enough stuff.